Hello, everybody.
Hey!
Thank you for joining us tonight. This is Tavern Talks, a new addition to Hard Knock Dice that we're going to be taking on, just sort of a casual conversation. We're going to be talking about different D&D items, whether that be news items or, philosophy of the game or new players, a whole bunch of stuff that we're just going to sit around, have a drink, and talk about. Which first topics is going to be Tasha's. But before I introduce our topics and all that, let's introduce these guys right above me in case you haven't met these guys. I'm Jonesy. I'm the DM for Hard Knock Dice. That's about all I do. And Twitter handle is below. Go ahead, guys.
I'm Ian. I play Gandolin in Hard Knock Dice, and for the moment, at the very least, that's also all I do. Yeah, I provide ideas. May not all be good ones.
Smart remarks,
I try,
etc.
Yeah.
I'm Matthew. I play Crowley, and I just come up with horror scenarios for the rest of the party.
We have that in common.
It'd be like that.
I guess that's why we're friends.
So, like I said earlier, we're going to be talking about Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. It's a new source book released by Wizards, probably at this point 2 or 3 weeks ago. I think November 17th was the release date.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we've had a couple of weeks to kind of go over it now. And what's up, Matt? Did I say the wrong date?
I thought it was the 17th.
That's probably wrong. I'm probably wrong.
I heard 7th. I was like,
oh no, I'm pretty sure it's the 17th.
They released a book on a day, and we'll be talking about perhaps that book released on that day. Maybe. We'll decide.
We'll make up our own book.
now that other people have put out their opinions for me to leech on, I'll be able to give you my thoughts and opinions today.
Well, we've sussed out the book and it kind of actually formed our opinions. And Wizards, it also gives WOTC some... That's a news channel around here, and it throws me off every time I say that. It gives Wizards some time to address issues with the book, some clarifications they needed to make or anything like that. So, in the meantime, we've just been formulating and reading. So here we are to give our somewhat informed opinions now. With that, though, what were your overall thoughts? Let's hear them. Good book, bad book. Someone take it away.
I like it. I think overall, it's a great addition to D&D on the whole. It adds plenty that is interesting or fun. Like, there's some stuff that may be on the weaker side, but on the whole, it's just extra stuff to play with, which just can add flavor or all kinds of fun stuff. But I think it's a fantastic addition of content.
Overall, thumbs up.
Yes, overall thumbs up.
Matt, what about you? You're muted, or you're not pushing to talk or something.
I just pushed it and it didn't click. But anyway, I wanted to clarify, first of all, I've been looking forward to this book for months now. As you latch on to something in 2020, you're like, get here now, and also bring the end of 2020 with you.
Oh God. I know that's right, man.
I also want to go ahead and clarify. I have not yet played a specific subclass from this book yet, but thus far, overall, more than not, I am quite pleased with the subclasses I've seen. They did definitely change some of the classes, the UA classes I played, and it's not been anything that I've been angry about. I think it's interesting how they're moving towards some subjects, which we'll cover later. But I'm just happy to have the book, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, most definitely.
And there are a lot of options. Like, I'm sure a lot of DMs agree. They've already done some of this stuff, but it's just nice to have it in writing.
Yeah, it's actually one of the things that I was going to talk about. So you're saying it's an overall good book. I don't know if I feel that strongly. I was really hype about its release and everything. But a lot of the things in this book, and I say a lot, and like I said, like Matt said, we'll go over them. Hi, Brittany.
Hey, Brittany.
Thanks for tuning in. But a lot of the things they have in the book are really just things that we've homebrewed for years and years and years now. Like sudden changes and like training, all those sorts of things that we've been doing regardless in our games. have now been put into text, which is nice, but it's also almost like you got shortchanged, right? I'm glad they put it in there, especially for like less experienced DMs. So now they have a hard, go to, like if your DM allows it, and they can go to that paragraph in Tasha's and point it out, and they then player and DM can go over it. But other than that, it seems like maybe something else, maybe something new. I mean, that's the greed in me, because I just want more all the time. But like, I just feels like something else could have took those slots. Although I am, I don't know. I'm ambivalent on it, because I would also enjoy that they put them in there for newer DMs.
Yeah, I think that's kind of my opinion on it, is that it's like, okay, this is stuff that we've done for a long time anyway, but for people who are newer to it, and especially newer DMs who might be a little more tentative about doing things that aren't explicitly stated within the DMG or any of the other books, I think it's a fantastic way to not only give them those specific options, but kind of give them ideas for stuff that they can homebrew,
right,
and do on their own. And I think as somebody, like, I haven't DM'd, so I can't say this for sure, but most definitely correct me if I'm wrong. But I think it is. I kind of feel for Wizards in that it's kind of hard to create completely new content for DMs to use, because so much stuff that DMs do can't like that they say in the DMG and stuff. It's just kind of that you can kind of extrapolate and do on your own if you didn't already know it.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
It's kind of rough to do that. So I kind of feel for them there, but I also understand wanting more DM content, because if you are a DM and if you DM a lot, like, yeah, you want more toys in the toy box to play with as well. So I definitely can get that frustration.
Tools in the toy box.
I'm trying.
Yeah,
words are hard.
I DM too, and but there are never really any tools I expect or really look for. I was greedy. I just wanted the 22 subclasses, guys. Mine. Let me play them all in one campaign. How's it gonna work? I don't know. I mean, the DM's God. There's plenty of stuff we look up already to make the game interesting. Sure, they did present some interesting options, but it's more about just the player in this book. I feel like, there's a lot of things that make the DM's life a lot easier, in case someone wants to quote the rules at you for at least half the playtime.
I mean, that's when they say here are the rules, that's the first rule, right? It's like the DM is the final word. Like, that is the first rule that they present in this book. But just kind of keep harping on that, and we'll move on past here. I feel like there were some good options added. I feel like they could have added more, but I feel like some of the things they added, like, I'm looking at one right now. You both have your physical copies, well, the digital copy. But one of the things I'm looking at is personalizing spells. It's flavor. It gives the player, and what personalizing spells says, it's not changing the effects or anything, but what it does is you change the looks of it. You change, if you cast, like, right now, let's say, for example, in our campaign, Kaushik, who's played by Brittany, who's actually in the chat right now, Kaushik will cast a guiding bolt, but she's flavored her magic to be like black shadows intertwined with some like red glitter type of magic, and it's really cool and badass effect. But we did that without, I don't believe, Brittany, you can correct me in the chat if I'm wrong here, but I don't think I'm wrong in saying that's Brittany didn't read the personalizing spell section of Tasha. She that's what she wanted her character to look like, and it just seemed like some of that's filler, which I'm not too excited about, but the rest of it was really good. What I did enjoy is that they included in that same section a random table, that if you were creating a random NPC or something like that, or just wanted some inspiration, they included a table for you to roll on, or you could just read through to get some inspiration for maybe, because I think one of the first one on there, if I'm not mistaken, is like clockwork and books and scrolls and stuff like that. Like your spells present as that, which I haven't thought of that before, so it's an interesting concept.
I know with the spell personalization, like I know for a fact, like a lot of people, when Jim Dark Magic from the Wizards of the Coast hosted game, whenever he used his magic missile, they actually made that a literal spell you could pick in their addendum, which is Acquisitions Incorporated D&D. And I'm sure a lot of people were like, why not, Matt's magic missile or Ian's magic missile? Why has it got to be Jim?
Right.
So I'm sure it probably came as a piece of that, but also the customization. So who knows?
Yeah, because Jim's magic missile is a different spell from magic missile. Like it has like an attack roll associated with it. Like rather, it's a different kind of magic missile, which I guess cropped up because of the way he did his stuff in that. But while this is like Jones said, is purely you flavoring your character, and they're being like, hey, flavor your character through the visuals of your spells, which is something a lot of people did anyway, and is fairly intuitive. Unlike, because like that's where I will definitely agree that it seems like fluff and something they just kind of added in to put words on pages, because like the sudden change and stuff might not be nearly as like, oh yeah, that's like super intuitive, makes sense. Like it can be, but this is even more so. This is like, oh, you want to make your character an individual, and they're like, yeah, you should do that, make your character an individual. And it's like, come on guys.
Right. I think at the end of the day, we say that coming from a place of, and we were kind of talking about this earlier, between the three of us, we probably have close to 25 years of a D&D and role-playing game experience, right? We've been playing tabletop role-playing games for a long time, most of us. So we kind of take those things for advantage, maybe. Like, I think a new player, and I think 5e is really beginner-friendly, right? It absolutely is over 3.5, which is where I started, which included god-awful amounts of math, and from what I hear about the earlier editions, they were just that much worse.
Oh, God.
So 3.5, 5e is just infinitely more player friendly, or beginner friendly rather, and it's to end some of that gatekeeping. So I think we may, and just kind of not to roll back what I said, because I do feel like an entire section was maybe not wasted, but could have been expounded upon a little bit more, or gave something to a little bit more than it did with the spell customization, or the personalizing spells rather. But it does, at least if you're brand new to the game, you're coming in and you're making your level 1 character, and the first book you're reading through is Tasha's. For some reason, you shouldn't be reading Tasha's first and foremost. You should be reading Player's Handbook. But if it is, if this is the book that's, that you have access to, and you're kind of reading through, this may have been something that never even came across your mind, is you can change the way a spell looks. So that's the counterpoint, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess.
I'm gonna admit a deep, dark secret to you, only on Tavern Talks. Never have I ever read the Player's Handbook or the Dungeon Master's Guide. I've learned everything I have just from watching you guys. Never read them.
Oh, Lord. All right, let's roll it back. We're going to say 22 and a half years of tabletop.
Wait a minute.
Oh, man.
Physical, it's like when you're applying for a job. Experience trumps education sometimes. You know what I'm saying?
I don't think it's trumps. I think it's there's an exchange rate there. I think you may have gotten past that exchange rate threshold.
What is it like, 5 years experience is equivalent to 2 years education, I believe.
Well, maybe we're past there now. So, all right, that's overall thoughts on it. We'll get off that. Let's move on to your favorite and your least favorite, and we're gonna take some time on this one. I would assume, but your favorite and your least favorite. We'll start off with least favorite, I guess, and build our way up from there, or just start it off however.
So now here's my question: do we want to do this as like a least favorite specific thing, or least favorite conceptually?
Least favorite overall.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I feel like this is a pretty held belief, at least among the three of us, because we've talked about it fairly extensively.
Oh, I know exactly where this is going.
Yeah, you know exactly what I'm about to be talking about. Is optional class features.
Yeah.
Because that shit is dumb. It's like, and it's like now I will say that it's not the class features themselves that are in the book. It's none of the additions. It is the fact that all of them are listed as not additional, but optional class features. They're not additional class features. So for every single one of these, you have to go to your DM and go, hey, can I use this thing? And the problem with them being is like there's some of the ranger ones and for some of the other classes, whereas you are trading out this class feature that is in you see that, Jones?
I did. Thank you, Brittany.
But some of them you're trading it out. So if like you want this class feature that's in Tasha's, well, you're gonna swap it for whatever you would have gotten anyway, which is all fine and dandy, and that's fine. But once again, you do have to ask permission to do that, and if your DM doesn't particularly like that, that may cause some friction between the DM and the player, which I'm not a huge fan of. And then there are a ton of class features in here for multiple classes that's just adding features. It's not trading anything. You're just giving extra power to a class, and it's completely optional, which is worse for the player DM friction, I think, because your DM might be a little hesitant to just straight up give you extra oomph. So I don't know. Just the way that works is just like, I think it's probably one of the worst parts of this book. So it's just like that's not a well executed thing because it's creating extra work for the DM because they have to go through and double check all these optional things and be like, okay, well, how does this work? Are you trading for? Oh, you're not trading it for anything. You're just getting this for free. Well, if I give you these optional class features, are other players who have optional class features, are they going to feel cheated if I don't want to give them their optional class features because maybe it's mechanically stronger? And it's like, oh, that's kind of broken. Well, John got his optional class features. Like, yeah, well, they don't give that much. It's like, well, still. So I don't know. It just
no, I agree 100%, man. It's like he was saying, and we've talked about this a lot actually over the past couple of weeks. It's one of the first things we kind of pulled up with optional class features and the word, and they should have divided that into two different sections, and they should have done a lot of different, I say two, and that's the minimum. They should have divided that into two sections, because some, like with spells, any class that has access to spells, it says this is an optional class feature, and then gives a list of spells, which basically just expands their spell list, which isn't a bad thing. Like, it doesn't buff the number of spells that they get, that they can cast per day, that they can learn, anything. It just gives them access to them. Why wouldn't any DM allow that? Like, unless there is just one obviously busted spell, which I've looked through this book. There's not. And the other things are, they call optional class features, are things like with the monk, where they are literally just extra abilities. There is no trade. There's nothing. It is what they should have labeled it. I think you said it too, an additional class feature.
Yeah.
They should have just buffed the class. If you think it's that underpowered, don't put it on a dungeon master to say, okay, if he thinks, or they think that the dungeon master thinks that it's underwhelming or overwhelming, like, don't put that on them. That is not what you want to do. If your game needs to be, or if the class needs to be buffed, buff it. It needs to be nerfed it. That's fine. I don't think there's any problem with that. Adjust it, if you will, but don't just say, here are some extra features that you could or could not take, because what player isn't want to grab it at the first chance they get, right? Like,
right, because it's extra stuff you can do now. Like, why do you not want to be able to do extra stuff? And some of them, like all the monk stuff is just extra abilities, but then you have stuff like for the barbarian, where it's increasing your ability to do stuff with an ability that you already have, because it's like, okay, well, when I rage, I can move half my movement speed, so right. I can get around faster, maybe that's not like game breaking or anything, but it's extra power, and regardless of to what degree that power is, it's just extra.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
several classes that have that.
as a DM, like looking at 5e as a game, like look, I want my players to be awesome. You guys are awesome in my campaign. Like all of you are really powerful. I mean, you're sixth level. Of course, you're going to be stronger, but even for sixth level characters, you are strong sixth level characters, right? So, but when you come to me and you're like, but I want this, and I'm like, I want to give that to you because, you know, I want you to have a good time. But no, because at the end of the day, I don't want to be throwing ancient red dragons at my level 12 players or something like that, right? Like, yeah, that's the face I don't want to be making. Like,
You hear that, Ian? We're level 12. No takesies, backsies.
Woo! Let's go.
listen. No.
I missed a hold up.
There's a whole bunch of story we're going to be skipping. But yeah, I think you could, there was a better way to do that. I think that section is probably the most poorly executed section of this book and really irks a nerve with me. You're causing friction where there doesn't need to be any between a dungeon master and a player. And I think you're failing to address issues that need to be addressed at the end of the day. Monk needs to be buffed. A lot of people have said it. Certain subclasses of monk make it much, much better than the class is base. So if you see there's problems with it, don't just say, here's some optional features. It's not the way it should have gone. IMO. Matt, you have thoughts on it?
I didn't have as vocal an opinion as you guys regarding the optional. Like, I do agree that a lot of the stuff done could have been worded better, for sure, and it does create a haphazard tension between the player and the DM. It's like, I'm going to suggest this, are they going to give it to me? Are they not? Maybe a little bit too much stress, but, a lot of that, especially the bookkeeping, can be taken care of in the character sheet. The player just has to be like, yeah, I traded out this for that, blah, blah, blah. And that'll definitely make it easier on the DM, and I hope the players are making the DM's life as easy as possible. Save all the shenanigans for the game, but I don't have anything really to add on to that. I'm used to the BS, so when I DM, I'm more likely to just let you try it out, and we'll see where the wind blows, really.
Right.
Yeah, like because we're all different. Like, at least I know me and Joe, we're fundamentally just different DMs entirely. Like, but we both agree we want the players to enjoy themselves as much as possible. And if you just try to break my back, then hey man, if that's where we need to go, have fun.
Yeah.
But otherwise, yeah. Go on.
I mean, I was just gonna say, I think it's just straight from a balance perspective, help the DMs. Like, I think a DM's job is hard enough as it is. Like, that's why you have so few of them. You have, like, Matt has DM'd before. He's an excellent DM before. Ian's working on DMing, but there's just so few. The DM to player ratio out there is so few far in between because DMing is difficult. And I don't get why Wizards would add something that would make a DM's life more difficult than it already is. That's where I feel that optional class features lies. And like I said, it's not all of them. Additional spells, that is great. I'm glad they expanded the spell list. I love expanded spell lists. Please keep adding that. But just what you call an optional feature, which is really just, can I add stuff to a class because it needs to be buffed? That's kind of silly.
I was going to tack on about the DM thing. I would like to, I guess, just kind of like polish our group a little bit. Like, we have an actually good number of DMs to players, actually, people that are willing to DM out of our large group. There are a lot of people that usually aren't that blessed, we shall say, even though some of us get antsy with others' rulings and settings. It's nice. It's a nice change up time to time.
For sure.
It's gonna look off to a side or that's crazy.
So,
I give people hell, but if you're DMing, then you've got my respect. It's a tough job.
It's true.
Definitely.
This is true. I mean, Matt, we've kind of hammered home our thoughts on the optional class features. What would you say your least favorite part of this book is, if there is one.
Well, like, I said I was excited about quite a bit, really. I don't think there was really any major thing I was too upset about. If anything, I was kind of just disappointed in how some of the subclasses were treated as opposed to others, and we're going to cover that later. But obviously, people do tier the subclass system. They do it a lot. They tier the classes, they tier the subclasses, and there are a lot of fundamentally really good subclasses in here. But there are some classes that were already really not really considered to be too good. Golf Ranger, that people were probably looking for a little bit more too. I was at least expecting just a little bit more with the optional stuff and everything. And I'm not saying break the Ranger, suddenly make it into S tier from the bottom of the list and let's change the whole game, but just a little bit more I would have hoped for. But otherwise, I can't say I'm too terribly disappointed or frowning at any particular rule set.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'm a very neutral when it comes to rules and educating the rules. I'm sorry, guys.
I feel like you're neutral when it comes to a lot of things in life. That's your alignment. You're just true neutral, man. But yeah, if there was an alignment for you, it would just be vibing.
Yeah. That's like, what's your alignment? Neutral vibing.
Neutral.
That's why
vibing.
I gotta hang out with you guys so I can feel some type of way about other things.
I feel some type of way about many things. This is big facts.
But
y'all want to turn this to a League of Legends talk show? Bet.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Moving on.
I hope I'll contribute with my neutral way of life to the conversation, at least.
100%. Moving on, since we almost took a detour down League Road, we're gonna go to our favorite, our favorite part of the book. Yeah,
favorite's hard.
Brittany calls Matt chaotic evil.
You can be neutral with certain tendencies.
I would say Matt is more chaotic neutral, because Matt, if anything, he actively states when we're playing games that he wants to. There's somebody has a sound clip of him saying that he'll take whatever choice creates the most chaos or something along those lines. It's floating around somewhere.
That's not really a world point of view. That's a view of me trying to make everyone's life more exciting. It's a game.
Exciting is a strong word. Exciting is a strong, actually exciting might be a little of an undershot if I'm gonna be honest. Matt enjoys making our lives harder in games. It's like, hey DM, but what if that caused the roof to collapse?
To be fair to our viewer Brittany, she never worked in a kitchen with me either. She was a bartender.
Yeah.
Got him. That's it.
All right, back on course. Favorite part of the book. Let's hear it, Ian.
Favorite is hard because there's a bunch.
Well,
of
let's hear all of them.
Okay. Actually, I'm gonna go with kind of a general point, kind of like I did with my least favorite thing, because I feel like we're gonna kind of talk about the subclasses anyway, and that's where I was about to go. So, the use of not even necessarily the use, the summons, just what they've done across the board for summoning, because I know those are all individual spells technically, but the way they have structured them and created each of them, you can hit multiple different kind of what's the word I'm looking for? I want to say aesthetics, but that's not what I'm looking for. But themes for your summoner.
Right,
you can hit multiple different themes with them. They're all infinitely more effective and feel less shitty of a cost of your spell slot. And they're all gonna do their thing. So you want to be a necromancer, well, you can summon your Skeleman who actually does not shit tier amounts of damage, or something. They all kind of have some interesting stuff that they can do that's unique to each summon. It's not just a reskin of the same summon for every single thing. And I know Matt, you had said something about we're gonna that this was something you enjoyed, but the stuff with the proficiency bonuses. with their inclusion with the summoning, so that it gives a kind of scaling to them. So I will say favorite thing out of the book for like the overall game is the inclusion of all these, like all the summoning changes.
The new summoning
And
spells.
additions. Yeah, all those new summoning spells, the way they affect that archetype. That's what I was looking for. That the summoning archetype as a whole is, I think, is incredibly positively influenced.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, what are your favorite out of those spells? Any particular favorite out of them? Because I know we're probably going to be seeing one of those spells pretty soon in our main campaign. I would assume at the very least.
I get the feeling as the component is currently being crafted by a blacksmith. I would say out of my favorites, I know y'all know I have spoken about trying to make the Hell March happen in a D&D world on multiple occasions. So probably the Summon Fiend, because let the fires of hell rain across whatever fantasy realm.
How does Summon Fiend differ from Summon Lesser Demon?
Well, Summon Lesser Demon, if I recall correctly, it has a fixed summon. It summons like a CR creature.
Right.
Whereas Summon Fiend, like let me flip to the page real quick. I believe that's on 112. But it summons like kind of a more unique creature, and you can determine like a lot like its visuals and stuff, and it has its own a separate stat block that isn't like a monster stat block.
Gotcha.
I do believe, yeah, because you have your options between, let's see, because all of them have three different things that you can do. You can do good gravy. Where is this in here? Good hell.
Oh, you get to choose.
Looking in the wrong spot. Yeah, you get to choose. You can choose a demon, devil, or a Yugoloth. I'm not 100% sure what that is. If anybody feel the need to educate me, but it's more broad. Whereas lesser demon is like either just, I can't remember if it just says that it's a horde of lesser demons or whatever, but they give you the stat block that they've got.
Right.
Whereas this gives you a little bit of choice because they have each one of the three has like a little bit of its own utility or something that it does that's a little bit different from the others. So you can react a little more situationally rather than like horde of random tiny demons go. You have relative amounts of control over this.
Okay. Is there? Yeah, and it just disappears. There's no wisdom checks from what I'm seeing, or charisma checks rather.
Right.
To keep
You're
control of it.
Randomly lose control of this thing and it go on a rampage through your party, which maybe some people might feel it's like, oh well, that's some of the fun of being like a demon summoner or a different kind. There's like different kinds of consequences or risk reward factors, but you still have like summon greater demon and like summon lesser demons or whatever. You still have those spells, but this gives you a consistent way to play your archetype, which is like, I'm the demon summoner. This is my demon that I can summon consistently and control.
Right.
Whereas maybe later on you need to up the risk factor a little bit and try to summon somebody with a little higher weight class.
Interesting. I wonder if this works the same way as planar binding as when you summon a greater or lesser demon. I guess that would probably come to a DM's ruling.
I think
from
so.
What I'm ruling,
based on the wording.
Yeah.
Because I think it'd be entirely dependent on your DM whether they'd allow you to planar bind it or not.
Yeah, because it says the creature disappears when it drops to 0 hit points or when the spell ends, which is only 1 hour. So that's interesting.
You could planar bind because planar binding is an hour long. So if you summon it and immediately start planar binding it, technically you could. But like you said, it's kind of ambiguous, and I think it'll be left to the DM.
Right.
We're betting man.
What about you, Matt?
So it's funny, we should have brought it up earlier, but some of the Dungeon Master's tools I actually really like. Specifically, supernatural regions, magical phenomena, and natural hazards. These are 3 of the things that I was kind of like, I thought I'd be more focused on subclasses, but these things I enjoy a lot, especially the haunted region. Are you know how much I love my horror, so
right.
It's definitely something I was like, ooh, shiny for me. And just some of the magical phenomena like eldritch storms, just random things players can encounter. It's just, I like the ideas, and obviously people could have done this before, not a problem. But now that there's rulings for it, I think it'll probably be referring to them a lot more as should I ever run another game in the near future.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of that stuff reminded me of living spells in Eberron. You find it in the Mournland, and I may be spoiling a little bit to you guys here on the stream, but things that kind of originated in Eberron that were scary as hell back in 3.5 for sure. I actually have not looked at them for 5e, but they're called living spells, and they are just spells that are given sentience by the weird magics of the Mournland, or any weird magics from anywhere, really. So if you could imagine like a cloud kill spell or a fireball spell that just has a mind of its own and it's chaotic evil, and it's just making its way, and it sees a group of adventurers and just cloud kill over all of them. It's scary. So it's kind of what that entire section reminded me of for supernatural regions specifically.
Oh yeah, and like obviously there's a lot our DM can use, and even from the game that I used to run, like there's a lot of stuff here that I wish I had at the time, because without going too far into that, I'm definitely very thankful for it. And I would like to point out Unearthly Roads. That's a phenomenon, and you should remember it, Jones.
Unearthly Roads. Is that in? Where's that at?
I can actually tell you the page number. It is 169.
Nice.
Knew you'd react.
What you forget is that I am in the digital book.
I know it should be the same numerically. If not, I can actually read.
It's not on 169 on the physical book. I'm looking. Oh no, there it is. It's in the middle. I'm sorry.
What
Yeah.
I was looking
section?
for something. Yeah.
Supernatural regions or magical phenomena or natural hazards?
You got to keep going past. It's a few pages past that because you get to like mimic colonies, primal fruit, and unearthly roads. It's its own thing. I think it all falls under kind of the supernatural thing. It might be under magical phenomena, perhaps.
Oh, okay.
Psychic resonance.
What?
But they're all different tabs.
Right.
And I kind of like applied it, even though we went to a different plane. I kind of apply it to Jones's game when we suddenly appeared and met Kaushik and everyone else. There's kind of a borderline there. It's kind of the same thing, and I rather like it.
Okay, I see how this works. That could be really cool. So it's like the pathway or whatever, however you want to refer to it, would open under set circumstances.
And
like there's a special trigger.
To quote, and I know you're not familiar with this book series, but I would like quote also the Dresden Files, like how certain events happen, like blood spilt on a road makes it like our feelings of jealousy turn.
Yeah.
They affect the area around you, and that's very intriguing to me.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Definitely, I will definitely say that unlike some of the other stuff that we were saying is kind of weak for the things that they gave DMs to work with, that these give you tables of stuff, and even if you're not going to go strictly by exactly those tables, I think those are very strong points to give you, like, inspire you for like similar ideas. Like if you hadn't thought about the Unearthly Roads thing before, you may not choose any of those options that are in the book, like, but you may go, oh, that's a really good idea, and you may custom build it to something like,
Oh yeah, it's inspiration.
it's super inspirational, and you can use those things from the book if perhaps you're like trying to build a one shot really quick, or if you're a newer DM, and so you're trying, like, you're still using a little more of the, like, words as written off the pages of the book, and some of the stuff could be cool. It could be super useful if it has anything to do with numbers. Like I saw one of the things was talking about like a 20-foot radius of light for something for one of the supernatural things. I was like, awesome. And then you could, if you could, like, all right, 20-foot radius of light effect under these circumstances, give it a little bit more of your own personal pizzazz. Bam.
Right.
Cool scenes and interactions and stuff galore.
And I want to walk back a little bit, because I didn't mean, when we were talking about some of the sections earlier, I didn't mean that those were weak DM tools by any means. What I meant by those when we were kind of talking about them is that they were things that we were already doing, and for experienced DMs, not that they were weak tools. Just to clarify. But yeah, as far as my favorite things in this book, there were a couple of them. I actually got my notes right here that I kind of want to pull up, but one of them we've talked about in depth a little bit, and that is the spell.
That fucking spell.
The spell, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I do know
because
exactly
it's
what
such
you're
a cool
talking
spell.
I almost I might have to disagree with you a bit after you
Oh, all
say what
right,
you
all
gotta
right.
say.
We'll see. Yeah, I'll say what I gotta say first. But give me 2 seconds. It's a new 7th level spell, and it's called Dream of the Blue Veil. That's what it is. I was thinking it was pull back the blue veil, but it's Dream of the Blue Veil. And we were talking about DM tools, and I think this spell is an excellent DM tool, especially if you want to get your adventuring parties seeing new worlds. Maybe, especially if maybe something's growing stale, or maybe it's just part of the storyline that you need to get someone to a parallel universe. There's just so many flavor options that you can do there, and it doesn't necessarily. It doesn't necessarily need to be a player cast spell either. I think this is actually better and as a NPC spell where they're trying to get to another universe, this parallel universe, or wherever it may be, right? If they're going from Eberron to Faerun or whatever the case is, or Toril or wherever they're going, that an NPC can help the storyline go from, all right, we'll get you from here. Say the world of or the universe of Eberron is dying, and this powerful mage is going to send the party. It is an excellent campaign starter. It's an excellent campaign change up. Could be a campaign ender. There's so many useful things, and basically, I got too excited for it before I even explained what it did. So basically, what Dream of the Blue Veil does is you need an item from another universe. So
Magical item.
a magical item from another universe. So think of like Batman getting hold of Thanos' gauntlet, right? And he wants to make a travel into the Marvel universe. And I'm gonna cater this to newer players because that's what might be hopping in here. So if you are more experienced, sorry for the watered down version, but you take that item, and through the spell and a series of a dream, you actually walk your way into this new universe. And I think it takes it's a 10-minute cast, and it lasts for 6 hours. It just takes you to a new universe. And there's just so many flavor things that you can do with that spell. It just got me super excited. Got all kinds of DM juices flowing as far as future things to do. And I want to say, be careful with it, because as strong as it is, it could go either way, right? If your players are expecting an Eberron campaign, like I've told these guys that they're in, and they end up in the DC universe, they may not be too pleased with that. So what I would suggest is, if you're going to transfer universes on them, have a session. It needs to be cleared in your session 0 that things may get wonky, that they may be traveling places that are weirder than they are in this world, in the current world they're in. Or you could even say, you can have a meta discussion with them, like, this is what this will do. If you're interested in doing it, this is a major plot hook. But again, our jobs as a DM is to be adaptable. So the players could absolutely write off that option and go a different route. So be ready for that too. But I think you could really mess up some story and some players' feelings about your campaigns if you don't do this right. But I do think it gives some very good options, like in the book options for your DM to play with. You had some opinions on it there, Ian?
Okay, so my thoughts on the matter is like you said, I think it's 100% way more a DM tool than it is a player option. Really, like, you can, but it would have to be, even if you have the player be the one to cast it, you're not gonna take it unprompted, right? You still have to be heavily nudged kind of by your DM in that direction, and for that to be kind of the thing that you got to do or want to do. And so while I agree that it's a very useful thing, I look at this kind of the same way. that I would look at like the spiritual realms or spiritual road, like all that stuff, and that it's a very good for getting ideas and juices flowing and stuff. But from a mechanical perspective, I'm just or not like strictly mechanically, right? Not like, oh well, it's weak as a spell. It's that's what it is. It's like the concept of changing worlds or changing universes. I don't think is exactly super crazy, and I think it occurs to people in general. And it's not like this is something you couldn't do before now. I think it serves once more the purpose of giving you ideas as a DM.
Yeah.
And that just, it feels weird. I guess part of it is it feels weird to put it in as a spell.
Yeah.
Like, I think it would be super, I think it would have been, I hesitate to say better because you have the same result. It's like, but if it was in like your DM tools and it was like changing worlds for your players or whatever, or like, and they had a section where they talked about, and they used Dream of the Blue Veil as an example of how you would do it, that would make more sense. Putting it as a spell just seems weird.
100%. I agree.
It's kind of where I fall with that.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, it's just an odd choice. It doesn't hurt anything by all means, but it just seems like an odd choice.
Well, I think it could hurt something, especially if your player didn't understand it when they took their 7th level spell, right? Like they could think, I'm going to travel from this planet to a different planet, and not really realizing or maybe missing the entire part, like I did the first time I read it, where you didn't need a magical item from the other world, right? But I mean, even like that could be homebrewed. You could say like, okay, while we're not going to be transferring worlds, well, you could transfer planets. I mean, the Gith are a thing. Alien technology or whatever crashing onto the planet could be a very real option for you. So I think if your player took it, you could give them the option to use it, and I think you should. If they take the spell and you're kind of looking over their spell list and like, oh god, they have Dream of the Blue Veil, they may not have known what they were getting into with that, but you know what? I'll bite as a DM. Tell me there's not some option. I don't care if you're at level 19 that you can't say, all right, well, you get, you find this weird alien artifact and boom, all of a sudden side story right there.
Or like use it to, I mean, I would say travel between planes, but there are already plenty of ways to travel between planes.
Right.
But yeah, I guess that's my only thing is like, and you do like you can if you change kind of the mechanics of how it works, you can definitely make it apply more for players. But as it stands,
right.
rules is written, it just seems very strange to make it a spell.
For sure, I would 100% be okay with this being put in DM tools rather than in the spell list.
Yeah. Matchroom.
But of course, the player could always have something they want to do, unbeknownst to the DM. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if the DM's giving them the tool, obviously it really requires participation. Like they'd have had to have got the item and all this stuff. But I'm sure there's somewhere down the line, some way that they could do that. But for the most part, I do agree with you guys. It's a nice storytelling tool for sure. And maybe at some point, they travel back and they're like, oh, I wanted to do something that I can only do over there. Let me go back. Even though the portal or the way is closed. Haha. So there's not really much I can add to that. It's just a really nice storytelling tool. I considered taking it, but at the same time, there's so many new shiny spells. I'm like, obviously I noticed it because it was in the new Bard spell list, but
oh yeah.
Right.
That's the only reason.
Of course, Bards be just fucking off to other places. I'm like,
yeah,
I
guess so. I didn't actually realize that until you said that, Matt, that it was in the Bard spell list. Like, I can see Wizard, I guess I can see Sorcerer, Warlock, and Bard. Oh man, like we're getting into some weird Warlocks and Bards if they're casting this spell.
I know. Just to quote maybe more stereotypical bards, maybe they just want to go to the pleasure planet or the pleasure palace on the plane of air. Who knows, man? I'm just saying.
Who knows?
Fucked everything in this universe. You gotta go fuck everything in the other one. It's like, all right.
My goodness.
I've done anything and everything there is to do here. Time. Next.
So every bard needs this spell, is what I'm hearing. I mean, just thinking about this spell, this is a great, if you're looking for a storyline just to take them somewhere else in a side quest, for your plays, this is I think an awesome chance for you to maybe do your Obi-Wan, you're our only hope sort of mission. Like if you get a gift transmission, magical transmission from somewhere else, they could use this spell. That'd be totally kick ass. Anyways, we won't drone on about it. All right. Favorite things.
See the one Starjammer back. Darn.
Any other favorite things? Just things we think are badass.
The group patrons are pretty interesting. I mean, obviously the DM could have cohorted or gotten the party to understand you're going to be part of a group patron, but it's a nice touch. It's definitely something nice. Do you have anything to add to that, Ian? I know.
Not about specifically the group patrons. I do think the group patrons are a really nifty thing, especially if you're needing a bit more of like, if you're doing a less like epic, like, and this is epic with a capital E, for the record, like epic kind of like saga or like big overarching kind of story, and you're doing more of an episodic thing where you have a patron of some kind that's like they're the ones issuing your group their missions, and that's why they're going out and doing things. It's super nice.
Are those?
What's up?
Are those mutually exclusive? Am I?
What do you mean?
Well, I think you can have episodic where you have a group patron and also an overarching storyline.
Absolutely. But that's what more pops into mind for me is like they're issuing you some more like smaller quests, and maybe it's they're the ones that are, maybe you have your big overarching story, and that is your end goal, but they're the ones that are sending you on like the building block pieces of that quest. They're like, hey, the world's about to end, right? You need to find these 4 artifacts, and they're the ones sending you out on your like the side missions that are the retrieving of those 4 artifacts that have their own kind of like branching thing. They're the cornerstone, I guess. Like that's what I think of as them sending you on smaller things rather than going, all right, team, go save the world, and that's it.
Right.
Like I would think of a patron as being somebody who's gonna be more you're gonna interact with fairly regularly. I guess is my point with that.
Yeah, Charlie to the angels. I got you.
Right, exactly. But
yeah, for sure.
On the subject of other things that I thought were awesome, were something that I thought was cool, like since I've been looking at it in UA all the time. Magic tattoos are dope.
Yeah, that's something I've been waiting for, especially because we use them so much in Ravnica, and I've been.
Do we?
Well, they use them in Ravnica, and like, or at least the DM promised me, but then he was like, "Oh, let's just wait for Tasha's."
Oh.
And now they're
okay.
And now they're out, and I'm like.
Yeah, your character's all tatted up.
Actually, now that I think about it, at least 3 DMs I know have spoken to me about tattoos, like, just hung it in front of me, like, hey man,
they're just fucking cool. Like, just like, oh, I have extra like magical abilities that are tied to tattoos and shit, cause like it's just neat, especially because some of them are unique. Some of them are like the ones that's like a tattoo of like spell storing. I'm like, that's just a ring of spell storing, but a tattoo, whack. Like, but
still cool. I got a tattoo.
It's still kind of cool. But then you like there are plenty of them that are really nifty and that would allow you to play like some kind of archetype that you wouldn't otherwise. Like if you're wanting to play that like this is a character archetype that I've really wanted to play for a long time, and now that these like some of these tattoos are out, I can do it. It still requires fairly high levels, but like your magical kind of secret agent kind of thing, right? Like. Walks around plain clothes all the time, able to get into places he shouldn't, because how are you going to detect anything that he has on him? Because boom, Pact of the Blade Warlock, so he just summons his weapon whenever he needs to do his thing. But then you're not wearing armor, right? And of course you could just like Armor of Shadows and it's 13 plus your dex, but that's kind of iffy, and it's not active all the time. Whereas you have the it's a tattoo, and it's something about blocking things, and depending upon the rarity, you just
of blocking things.
It's a tattoo of blocking things. It gives you AC when you're not wearing armor. That's what it does. And as you get the higher, like depending on the rarity, because they work like magical items, it's higher. Like in one of the best ones, you can have it's half plate. You can basically have half plate, 15 plus 2 dex plus a maximum dex bonus of 2. And it's perfect. Like boom, now you have that archetype. Like you're a dude who's pretty hard to hit without having to take a cost of like your of any of your stats, you can still do your thing, and bam, you've built your plainclothes secret agent. And not all of them are that situational, but there's a bunch of they just offer cool things that you can do with them, is my point. Which I've been looking forward to them for a very long time, and I'm very glad I was very happy when I heard they were going to be included in Tasha's, to be officially included in D&D material.
Right. I think I'm excited about them, and I really enjoy them. There's a lot more abilities than I thought were going to be on them, because I'm going to rip off not rip off, but I'm just talking about Critical Role real quick. Matt Mercer uses them in Campaign 2 to some degree, but they're nothing like what they're doing in Tasha's right now, which I found really surprising. I thought it maybe was some playtest material or something like that. But the way he's ruling is just like +2 dex, +2 con, that sort of thing, right? I think there is one that gave you like +1 or +2 AC.
Right.
But they're not Tasha's style. What's interesting is, and I don't know how Mercer would rule something like this, but in this version, magical tattoos, like when you unattune to them, they are expelled from your body into a needle.
Into a magical needle, yeah.
Right?
I did think that was kind of weird.
It's weird, and I guess I get it, but there's no sort of sense of permanency. I think that's what's weirdest about it for me, is because tattoos in this world are awesome, but it also represents some sort of like permanency on you, like that's not going anywhere. Right. And I don't know, in D&D it's like, hey, you can unattune to something in an hour, right? I'm not sure about the official ruling on that. Yeah. I know it takes an hour to attune to something, but I'm not sure about the what it takes to unattune. So it's either an hour or maybe as short as an action. That tattoo is just gone from you, which is weird and off-putting. But I guess it is a world of magic. But I don't want that to end up being an excuse, because when I think tattoo, and it's much like Mercer describes it, they are getting legitimate like tattoos. They are being inked into their skin. So it's odd, but I do think they are really cool. So if I end up running them, and I probably will, especially if y'all are super interested in them in our main campaign, I may end up doing something with that effect, just because I think that's a little bit whack. I think if you want something as good as some of these tattoos get, there needs to be somewhat of a trade-off. Like, once I attune to this,
lose that attunement slot.
Yeah, maybe
you can't get it back.
Exactly. Or at least there's going to be a cost to unattuning to it, right? Like maybe it's going to someone that can unattune you from this, but it's going to take some doing.
Right. Well, and I was thinking, I think the unattuning thing exists a little more, because a lot of them can be gotten at different strengths.
Right.
So it's like, if you have a common one that you got really early on, but it requires attunement, kind of suck if you were stuck with that forever. Like, I'd be completely cool. Like, I would not mind being like, all right, buddy, you got that. And you're not getting that attunement slot back. Like, it's on there. For some of like the stronger ones, I definitely would be like, ooh, man, that kind of sucks. So I have one that's like, this is kind of not a super great effect, and I'm not stuck with it forever, and I can't use a magic item.
Right. Now, the thing is, and I thought about that, it's like, that's why I wouldn't make it impossible to do, but it would be much harder than just unattuning from the item in the classical sense of, I'm just going to sit here and separate my soul from this item, or separate my spirit from this item. By the way, Brittany says that you guys in the main campaign should get all matching tattoos as a squad.
We can get regular tattoos as a squad.
Who's to say I don't already have mine?
It's all over his face. He's looking like...
It's not a matching tattoo. If you don't get them together and it's not matching anything, that's just a tattoo.
Crowley would be like, you can paint it on the mask. It's not going on me.
I've done that with a character before.
I bet you have. I'm pretty sure I know exactly who you did that with.
Yeah.
I was there, Matt.
Oh man,
I was there.
With the weird, what was it? Was it a Minotaur? It was a Minotaur guy. Yep.
It was a mini Minotaur guy.
It was a hippie Minotaur, and he tattooed our entire party with things that made us a tribe.
Yeah.
Weird
Brittany,
times.
It's been done. We can't do it again.
We can't. Yeah, it's only once.
We're looking for originality on this stream. Okay, I'll throw the book at you.
Matching magical tattoos sounds pretty original to me. I don't know. We'll see.
Hey, that we'd have to discuss the effects. Like, all right, does this work for everybody?
And you know what
Is
it
this
gives
something
you?
everybody can make use of?
It gives you the power of friendship. All right, we're gonna move on.
Man, fuck you.
Oh man. All right. What other favorite items? I know I had a couple, especially about I think the.
Oh, items.
Oh, items? You want to talk about items?
You just said items. I'm just saying you said favorite items. And I was like, whoa.
Go ahead.
No, continue.
No, I'll let you take it off on items.
No, man. Talk about any other favorite things you have. I know.
All right, we'll get to items at the end because I know me and you have talked about an item that we were both very happy about. I have a new favorite item, by the way, that I'm going to bring up when we bring this up. More so than what you got. But Pact of the Fathomless, right? New Warlock patron. I'm sorry, the patron, the Fathomless. I keep calling it a Pact. But the new patron, the Fathomless, which is like how would y'all describe it? Underwater, or it is a being based on the elemental plane of water. It's basically a deep sea Cthulhu on another planet. Like, it's not the great old one, but it gives you all sorts of awesome things, like a tentacle at first level that you can just summon within 60 feet of you that can do all sort of nifty things. What else? Oh yeah, level 1, they get a swim speed of 40 feet.
Yep.
And they can breathe underwater at level 1 as your class. That's so sick to me. I know that's I don't know. Maybe I'm getting overhyped about this, but it's like a non-racial that allows you this ability at level 1 is pretty cool to me.
There have been a lot of times where I've like considered making a character like this, like either through race or class. But then I wonder to myself, how often am I going to be able to just show out and just be underwater? Like, it'll be cool to be in the water and do these things that the rest of the party would struggle to do, but at least for this class, there's a lot of other stuff you can do, and I do like Tentacle of the Deeps and some of the other abilities they get. I like the theme. I like what they're going for. It's very nice.
Oh man, like imagine if you have any kind of campaign where it's gonna be on the water. Like maybe if you're like supposed to be a group of pirates, and you're like basically your ship's like Water Witch, but you're Pact of the Fathomless Warlock. So fucking cool.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like any kind of thing, and like you said, Matt, they're like some of their stuff they can't use, but they still get to use the vast majority of their kit, even if they're not gonna be stuck in the water. Like it's just they get a lot of nice flavor stuff and extra just cool things that they can do when they're in the water. So they're still worth playing even if you're not sure that you're gonna be like in the ocean or anything.
I mean, even their 14th ability, the Fathomless Plunge, like it just teleports you to the nearest body of water that you know within a mile. You and a couple of other creatures. I think it's up to 5 other creatures within 30 feet of you.
Yep. Yeah.
Just teleports all of you to the nearest body of water, or to a body of water of your choosing. I forget the word. Within a mile. Like that's your bail. That's your guy that's just like, oh shit, we need to get out of here. We got ourselves into some deep but like we need to get out of here. Your warlock teleports you all out of there. Yeah, hell yeah.
Easy.
Yeah. I could say I would definitely see myself playing this, but like
super cool.
I always wanted to just play a shark man and just go, what is it, the shark lycanthrope variation, and just go underwater and terrify people, man. Like if I had that, I would always just drag people to the water. Like, oh man, let's go over there, party. There's no reason for us to be on the water. Trust me, it's okay. This is the shortcut. Don't worry about it.
Don't ask questions.
I wish Fathomless Plunge was like. I mean, I guess you could use a different spell to drag people, like, if you're having a hard time fighting on land, just drag them to water and change the rules,
That's not even their coolest ability is the thing. Their 6th level ability lets them talk to any creature.
Yeah.
Any creature in the water. It doesn't matter what it is, and he can speak back to it. It's like the Furbolg ability that's really cool. That lets you talk to
speech with beast and leaf.
Yeah, that lets you talk to animals and plants and everything. Like that's awesome. But now this ability comes in, and you can talk, and they can respond like to and the wording on it says any creature. So it's like, hey, little guy, like, let me talk to you real quick. What?
But you got to just in the water, because it specifically says fully submerged. So I can just super imagine a scenario where you're like, oh man, we need to interrogate this guy, but none of us speak like undercommon or
Oh
something.
God,
And you're
I
like,
didn't even think
"All
about
right,
that.
put him in the water," and he thinks you're like torturing him or something. Like, oh my God, they're gonna waterboard me.
I mean, you are.
like-
You can breathe
Yeah, but
underwater
you're
at that
sitting
point.
underwater. It's like, boy, you better start talking.
So I can only think about how ironic this would be if you chose this in an all desert campaign. But at the same time,
You
if
can
you
still
ever
do the
needed water, you're the one who would find it every time. like just as you wander.
that.
Like
Oh, I'm also pretty sure they get they get the create water spell. So
yeah.
this character with a bucket and create water can do a lot of things. Come here, we're gonna have a talk, and you shove them into like a bath.
That is unfortunate. They have to
bathtub.
be fully submerged.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It's like, all right, we're making this work. Pull the bathtub out of the bag of holding. Just yoink. Put them in the tub, and you just shove your head underwater so you can talk to them.
Yep. Oh man, that's incredible.
It's so good. It's so just interesting and can just be fun and funny. Though I don't know why their example is just a dude in like swim trunks. Like you can't wear clothes if your patron is the Fathomless. Like, nah, you got to be wearing them board shorts, boy. You better be
Right.
surfing.
Yeah, he's got no armor, no like chitinous
Yeah.
armor or anything.
He
He's
doesn't
just in the
have
swim
shoes on.
trunks. Yeah, I saw
shoes.
that.
This is just a surfer dude. It's like they just put Jason Momoa in here. We're like, boom, patron of the Fathomless. Like, done.
They're gonna see what they could get with their audience there.
I guess. I was like, all right,
Oh
bet.
man.
I ain't wearing shit.
Oh man. What's going on, Hydra? Thanks for joining us, man.
Oh man.
All right, so, all right, I think, and then last thing I got as far as warlocks go is limited wish for the genie patron, which you get at 14th level, but and I got to read this out. As an action, you can speak your desire to your genie's vessel, requesting the effect of one spell that is 6th level or lower and has a casting time of 1 action. The spell can be from any class's spell list, and you don't need to meet the requirements in that spell, including costly components. The spell simply takes effect as a part of this action. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish 1d4 long rest. That is dope to me. Any spell, like you can just have your go-to list of useful 6th level and under spells ready to go,
Let me pull up my chart.
including
That one.
Revivify and things like that.
Yeah. Just go, oh shit, they're dying. Not.
And I think Resurrection is a 6th level spell, if I'm not mistaken.
It may very well be. I think so.
Which
It's close to
components are like a 3 and 500 gold diamond, so you can do that for free. So that's
that. Was it every 1d4 long rests?
1d4 long
That's
rest
not
in
bad.
between, right?
That's not rough.
So another option if you don't want to have your cleric, if you want to have if you're playing a high level campaign and you don't have a cleric in there, your Fathomless warlock may be ready to go with a resurrection spell for you.
Genie.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. Your genie warlock, not your Fathomless. All right.
just pour some water on them, they'll be okay.
Get your jug of endless water. Just fire hose them real quick. They'll be fine.
That would be necessary. Jug of endless water, tub in the bag of holding. You good to go. You can interrogate any creature on the planet now. Well, any creature as big as the bathtub. Any medium creature or smaller.
Big brain. See, okay. I had a thought. Fuck a bathtub when we get to the items list, because there's a specific function of the item I would like to bring up.
Let's go
that
ahead
would
and
make this big brain.
let's go ahead and bring up items. Favorite items. Ian, you're brimming with excitement.
Baba Yaga's mortar and pestle. That shit is fucking cool. It's just
Tell us
so
about
ridiculous.
Baba Yaga's
God,
mortar
where
and
is
pestle.
it? I gotta pull it up. It's so fucking cool. It can do so many things. Like it can, just off the top of my head, without naming exactly its stuff, it can teleport you places just over the course of like an hour. Like its fluff is cool. It'll teleport you through like a starlit sky or whatever that it says. Where is it? Bloodwell, Cauldron of Rebirth. Bell Branch. Oops, I went one too far. There we go. Baba Yaga's mortar and pestle. Like it can. The mortar is tiny wooden bowl. However, the mortar. See, now this is what I was talking about in relation to the Fathomless Warlock.
Right.
And the water thing. The mortar is a tiny wooden bowl. However, the mortar increases in size to accommodate anything you place inside, expanding if there's enough space up to large size. So you can put a large creature in that bitch, and it'll just grow. And then you dump water in it. Boom! Tiny bowl-sized interrogation chamber. Easy! But aside from that, it's like it has some just random properties that you can roll or your DM can choose. 2 minor beneficial, 1 major beneficial, and a minor detrimental. They function as like super awesome tools for using them for like medicine stuff. Like I said, you can teleport if you are holding the pestle while you're sitting in it. So if you just get in that little bowl and you have the pestle, it will teleport you up to if the stated destination is within 1,000 miles of you, it will lift in the air and vanish. And you'll just travel through like an empty night sky or whatever. And for like 10 minutes, it just, bam, plops you down, which is super neat. You can just put something in it. If something's in it, you can then command the pestle to beat the shit out of whatever is in the fucking whatever is in the bowl. It'll just beat the fuck out of it. You can just go tie somebody up and be like, put them in the mortar. Pestle, get them. And it grinds them up into a fine powder or paste, is what it says. It'll just keep doing it until you say stop, or they're just mush. That is horrifying, but awesome at the same time.
It's an awful way to go out, but so many creatures have gone out exactly that way before.
Baba Yaga is fucking evil as shit.
You just imagine the amount of like innocent kobolds and goblins and just small children that have gone into this thing and just clobbered with a pestle. Oh god.
So cool. Not to mention story implications for having such an item would be awesome, because now you're probably being pursued by Baba fucking Yaga. Like, that's shit my pants.
That is a canon middle name now, Baba fucking Yaga.
that's where fuck comes from. You're welcome. The lore writes itself.
Oh man,
that item is just super. It's just so weird and over the top. That is just super fucking cool.
For sure. Matt, do you have one?
You're muted.
I did. I know. I did. And I can't seem to find it again, which is weird. But I will bring up, I'm kind of happy we have our prosthetic limbs. Because, I would like to see more adventurers get maimed in the future.
A minute. Hold on.
It's an odd reason to want that in there, but... Yeah.
Well,
or something?
I'm not volunteering, but, who's to say I'm not already full of prosthetic limbs? Had a rough life, man. But
I like my limbs.
But there was an item, I thought it was in here, and I can't believe I can't find it right now. It was the one where, it releases demons gradually back into the world.
Oh,
you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
You're talking about the book?
You're talking about the Dynamicon. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I
was reading
it's in there. It's listed under a weird name because it's the Demonomicon of somebody.
It's words.
I was looking at that, but I couldn't find the specific text.
Yeah,
it's on page 125, Matt. It's Demonomicon of Igwilv.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at it, but I was reading it. I couldn't find the specific text.
That should be at the end, because I'm pretty sure that's if the book is destroyed or something like that, where it just it causes a rift to grow. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. It causes a rift to grow and just releases demons over 2 years or something like that.
Yeah, and it's per second. I thought our per minutes. How unprepared I am.
We might be talking about different items, fellas.
Because I'm looking at the Demonomicon of
Yeah.
Iglo.
Yeah, I think this might be a different book because this doesn't just release them. If it's destroyed, you're given Fraz Urblu's staff.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm sorry,
Fraz.
you're transported to a nascent layer of the abyss that has hidden within the book, where you see the staff, and if you pull it out of the pocket plane, it's reduced to a quite out-of-date copy of the Tome of Zix that serves as the foundation for the Demonomicon. And once the staff emerges, the Demon Lord Fraz Urblu instantly knows. So you're gonna have a Demon Lord on your asshole if you destroy this thing and then take the staff.
I know exactly what you're talking about because I've read through the magic items. I'll have to.
Regardless, my process of thought was basically you have an Oblivion Gate suddenly appearing in front of you.
Yep.
And good luck shutting that down because that's what can we say? That's level 10 to 20 right there.
Yeah.
That's the end
Done.
game.
Wham bam. Thank you, ma'am.
DM's like, I don't know what to do anymore. Well, let's see how they survive 2 years.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Let me see if I. Where's the list, real quick? I'm almost. I know what you're talking about, man. I'd really like. It's not the Crook of Rao, is it?
Down.
I don't think it's the Crook of Rao. Oh, it is. But it's Igwilf's curse on the Crook of Rao. Igwilf's curse. That's why I thought it was the Demonomicon.
That's right. I see it
because
now.
it's her curse. When the crook was last used against Igwilf, the Witch Queen lashed out at the artifact, blah, 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 put a curse on it. It explodes in a 50-foot diameter portal. The portal functioned as a permanent gate spell cast by Igwilf. The gate then, once per round on initiative 20, audibly speaks a fiend's name in Igwilf's voice, doing so until the gate calls on every fiend ever banished by the Crook of Rao. If the fiend still exists, it is drawn through the gate. This process takes 18 years to complete, at the end of which the gate becomes a permanent portal to Pazunia, the first layer of the abyss.
And that's just exciting.
Yeah, so
horrifying.
Yeah, it 100% is, dude. It's scary as shit, is what it is.
That's why I like it. It's just so amazing. Like, good. Like, how would you even deal with that? The thoughts just covered my head, and I guess the simplest answer is you don't. GG's world.
Group of some badass motherfuckers like this.
I would call every single paladin in the world and be like, "Hey, why aren't you
y'all got some work."
I need someone to do the math on that. One demon every 6 seconds for 18 years. What does that math come out to?
We did the math, and I don't remember the number, but
dear God, that is terrifying. And then it just becomes a permanent gate. Even
if you banish them, they'll just come right back out.
Well, yeah. I mean, to be fair, if you journey to Mount Celestia and obtain a tear from the eternally serene god Rao, you can either break, destroy, or repair it.
Right.
A lot of items just meshing together for sure.
Except it doesn't have to break to do the curse. What the hell? How do you deal with this? Like, do you have to wait 18 years until the portal opens and then go in and kick the shit out of everything on the other side? And be like, all right, close this bitch down.
It's just doom for 18 years. That's all it is, just doom. And then you have to find a way to counterspell that gate after the fact. And then... Jesus Christ.
You can't do anything about it before then, can you? Like...
I mean, sure, there's other people around, but you would want, like, I would assume the majority of your population at this gate just holding the line.
Well, I assume you that counter spell still works on it in some way, right? But you have to counter spell a permanent spell cast by Tasha herself, which I'm sure is not any meager feat.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Because it makes that gate, and it's like, all right, well, if you can counterspell this, great. If you can't, you're fucked. Every round, just another demon. You hope you're one-shotting each of those demons. Y'all are killing them in 1 round or less.
Well, it's Tasha too, right? So you know there's consequences if you fail a counterspell. Like, it's gonna come off to a d20 roll to see if you can counterspell it, and if you fail it, you just know there's consequences to it.
Unless you have like a 9th level. Do you think if you use a 9th level counterspell, you could just
Nah,
get
maybe.
rid of it?
Maybe. I'd
And
make
then
it a
comes
roll
up to the
regardless,
DM.
because that's obviously like
It's like
it's like
an
what Matt said.
artifact.
It's in-game stuff. So if you try to
Yeah.
counterspell it and you roll, you don't roll well, or like even as cast at 9th level, I would still make you roll. Plain and simple, because that's in-game stuff.
I'd honestly say it's like you gotta cast it at 9th level to even be allowed to roll
Right. And
with any reasonable chance of success.
right. And that's even if you as a DM allow the player to roll. As you could
It's
tell
fine,
you could
yeah.
tell your 18th level players or 20th level players or whatever. It's like you look at this and realize that it's just far beyond your capabilities of controlling. Like
Y'all bet
that
fight the shit out of that stuff.
honestly, what it sounds like to me is you say it's in game. I think that's campaign ending. That is the consequence if you're because not every campaign is successful at the end of level 20, right? Like there are world-ending consequences if some people don't, or if your party doesn't, finish or stop or whatever the case is for your 20th level story arc. So if this is it, and you've caused the Crook of Rao is cursed and is burst open at the end, perhaps the party just loses, and that's the start of your next campaign.
Yeah, that was
18
more my
years later.
implication. Yeah, like there's a lot you can do there. There's 18 whole years for you to do your best, or for someone to do their best.
That would be a cool as shit, like ender and beginning. I think like your party fails, unfortunately, to prevent the Crook of Rao from exploding into this portal to the demon's abyss, and then your next campaign, level 1, you've been living in a hellscape your entire life.
Yeah, you see, that's part of the reason why I'm so excited about it. Also, the party could curse Gandalwin's name for like eternity. Like, why did he unleash this on us?
What in the hell? I would not be in possession of this crook. He would not have. He is a monk. He's a simple monk.
Where's my percentile dice?
Bitch.
I'm just saying, out of the entire party, I feel like it would be Gandalwin.
What
Or
it?
Artyom.
What it? Gandalf can't even use magic.
Don't need to have magic to break it.
He wouldn't have this staff. That's on you, dog. Maybe Kaushik.
Gandalf's like,
cleric.
I've got a new cane to use martial arts.
Or our resident paladin. He is a vengeance paladin. Gotta go to great lengths for vengeance sometimes.
I think it has to be. I think I already exited out of it. Has to be attuned to by a cleric, if I'm not mistaken.
Ha! Couldn't be me.
I'm not.
Gandalf, when he finally
Don't
is able
quote
to
me.
resurrect his parents.
I think.
It's gonna take some work to make him into a cleric.
He's a cleric of himself.
Oh, that boy said, "I'm not a smart man."
You don't have to be smart. You just have to be wise.
It just says requires attunement.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Definitely Gandalf.
Absolutely
All right.
not.
So
I don't want to stick.
my new cool. Why am I blurry? You gotta.
I don't know.
All right.
I had to look at the camera.
Yeah. I got
Too much friction.
Stare at the camera. Too much friction. My favorite item. Mighty Servant of Leuco. Leuco.
Oh! I
Yeah.
looked at that one. That thing is fucking cool.
Bro. Okay. So
Like
have y'all
wet dream.
have y'all seen the movie Pacific Rim?
Mm-hmm.
Chat, have y'all seen the movie Pacific Rim? I'm sure y'all have. This is a Jaeger. It's called the Mighty Servant of Leuco, and it's a Jaeger. It can have 2 people attuned to it at one time, and it takes, I think, 2 hours to attune to it. And it is a huge construct of, it says, of a gleaming black alloy of unknown origin. So even what it is made of is not even known. But it's a huge construct. Yeah, he has ADS. It's a Jaeger from Pacific Rim. It's like, yeah, dog. And these things are dope. Now think Pacific Rim, but in D&D. So now you have these things that two people can attune to, and oh man, the servant contains enough space for 1 ton of cargo and a crew compartment within, from which up to 2 medium creatures can control it and potentially execute a spree of unstoppable destruction. It is a Jaeger. It is so cool.
It is super. I forgot about it.
So, all right. So, dangerous attunement. I'm just going to read off some of the abilities, or we'll go through some of the abilities. If a third person tries to attune to it, nothing happens. The servant's controls are accessed by a hatch on its upper back, which is easily open while there are no other creatures attuned to it. But if someone is attuned to it, they have to make a DC, I think it's 25 Thieves Tools check to get in, or they can cast the knock spell and get into the back. Any creature or structure outside and within 50 feet of the servant has a 25% of being accidentally targeted by one of its destructive fist attacks once during the attunement. The process must be undergone every time a creature attunes itself to the artifact. So every time you attune yourself to it, which hopefully it wouldn't be more than once, but if you just have like a party that has one of these things and they're constantly switching out the people that are attuning to it, the destructive fist will just bash a random thing within its reach. Yeah.
Gorham over here is getting the big plans.
The dwarves, they give the dwarves a Jaeger. The big. Oh, you may not want it once I start reading out some of the.
You do want some of its downsides are pretty. Whoo!
Yeah, it's got some pretty big downsides. So let's speaking of. I'm just going through this. Oh yeah. Upon his death, the creator of the machine, Leuko, his soul went into the artifact itself. And because of this, it's got some sentience. And once every 24 hours, the servant makes a random attack while it is uncrewed. So it will just randomly do something. And this thing is destructive. Like if you were in like a hotel or something and you got this thing out, or I say a hotel, and in an inn, and this thing's just like parked out back and you're not in it, there's a chance you're just going to see like a large metal fucking hand go crashing through the ceiling of this thing. And then
I like the self-destruct.
That is exactly what I'm about to go through. The self-destruct feature of it. Right? So, if you input, and it has to be, you have to have two people attuned to it. The 2 people inside, through a specific number of controls and button pushes and lever switches and stuff like that, can cause it to self-destruct. Should the crew members begin the process of entering the code, though, the servant uses its Ghost in the Machine property and turns the crew members against each other. If the crew members successfully implement the code, the servant explodes. Every creature within 100-foot radius centered on the servant must make a DC 25 dexterity saving throw. You take 25d6, which is an average of 87, so I'm just going to say 87 damage. And that's not it. 87 force damage, 87 lightning damage, and 87 thunder damage. That's what? 250? That's over 250 damage within a 200-foot area. That is
75d6 damage.
Massive. And then on a successful save, don't worry, because you only take half of 250 something damage. And then objects and structures in the area take triple damage, which is crazy. And then listen to this. Creatures inside the servant are slain instantly and leave behind no remains. Slain instantly. Ooh. There is no save. Rogues with evasion. There is nothing. You just die. I found the one thing that can kill you in a radius.
so it's like, and that's the thing is, you have to implement it from the inside, right?
Exactly.
So if you're implementing it from the inside, you are committing honorable Sudoku.
Well, you could get out. Like, you could try to get out.
Does it give you a chance?
I don't know.
It says okay. You have. It says at the end of the third round,
the servant explodes. Yeah. So you have 3 rounds to make it 100 feet away from this thing.
No, you can't. The crew members to be inside the servant and spend their actions on 3 consecutive rounds, perform the command.
Yeah. So it's just death.
If they have movement, they can technically get out. So they're gonna get hit by it, but they might not be instantly slain if they can get out of it. But if there's anything that's making them like use their movement, then they die. Or if they've been forced to use their movement on that third round.
I think it's so because you have to use 10 feet to get out of the Jaeger. So you could get away from it, which gets you away from being instantly slain.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You can get out of instant death, but you're gonna take 75 d6 damage.
Right. So let me rephrase. You're gonna die. If you're in the thing, you'll die. Like plain and simple, unless you're a barbarian with over 200 health, level 20, that sort of thing, you'll die. The thing about it is if you get out of it and get a couple of feet away, your remains can be found and you can be resurrected.
Actually, Jones, if you're a rogue with evasion and you get out of it,
this is true.
You can live.
You could take no damage, which is so totally dumb. No, you know what? If you're a rogue with evasion, you get locked in it. That is home food.
You're just trapped. No! Let me out.
So, but even cooler than a self-destruct feature, right? It doesn't destroy it. The self-destruct feature is not permanently destroyed. Rather than that, 2d6 days later, its parts go flying around the globe. Or, I'm sorry, not around the globe, but drop from the sky in random places within 1,000 miles of the explosion. That's so cool. That's a quest in itself, right? Like, maybe not a PC quest, but an NPC quest that they're trying to stop or something like that. Could be a PC quest. But 1,000 miles.
I don't want to fight this thing. This thing's scary. It's 30 strength, Jones.
Yeah, and then you just get to look.
Block.
You just get to looking at its stat block, which is next. It has a 22 armor class, 310 hit points. Oh man. And then
60 movement speed.
Oh yeah, that destructive fist that just goes off randomly sometimes, by the way. It's a melee or a ranged weapon attack. It's got plus 17 to hit. Oh yeah, it's got a rocket fist in every meaning of the word, because look at the range of it. Its reach is 10 foot. Its range is 120 feet. Its fist just flies off and then comes back to it. And it does 4d12 plus 10 force damage. If it's an object, it takes triple that. This thing is cool as shit. It is just a mech.
Fuck your house.
I have one complaint about it. That is the artwork they gave to it. While
it's like an egg.
Yes.
Y'all want to see it? Y'all want to see it? This is the artwork for the mech. It's an egg.
The egg of destruction, man.
Like
egg of doom.
The arms are cool. Like everything. You had to make it just look like an egg in the middle of it, though.
Egg. Evil egg.
Oh man, it's super cool though, and like definitely would be a cool little toy for your party to get to use for a couple of sessions.
But now my question is, those are its actions, right?
Right.
If whoever's piloting it has extra attack, does it get to make more than one attack?
No, it gets to make the attacks that's listed.
Well, I'm just saying, well, they don't get to do that twice.
No.
With a plus 17 to hit? Jesus Christ.
I mean, it says as an action, you can command the servant to take one of the actions in its stat block, or some other action.
Right. Oh, also a really cool thing, immutable existence, which is really cool. So someone can't walk up to the Jaeger and just cast polymorph and turn it into a cat. It is immune to any spell or effect that would alter its form or send it to another plane of existence.
It fucking regenerates health every round too. Jesus.
Yep. But it is here to stay, motherfucker. It's not going anywhere.
I'm glad that it doesn't need to eat. That'd be really confusing.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why it lists that specifically. It specifies that it doesn't require air, food, drink, or sleep. I'm like, good to know. I'm really weirded out by the implication that it might. It's uncomfortable. Like,
I'm
God.
sure someone would have tried, you know.
Feed
Oh man,
the
obviously
Doom egg.
he needs to breathe.
Right.
Feed the Doom
It does
egg.
have an intelligence score, so I'm sure someone out there might
Right.
want it to feed it some
Like-
oil.
I guess.
Come here, Tin Man. But yeah,
I'm not calling that thing 10 man.
that's fair. That's my favorite item for sure.
That thing is
It's
really
so
fucking dope.
cool. All right.
That's fair.
What about you, Matt? Favorite item? Do you have any favorite items? Oh, we already
Yes, we covered.
Yeah, he was
favorite
talking about
items.
it. Demon
talked about
Crook.
it. Yeah, the Crook of Rao. It's actually a really good artifact. It was just cursed. And one of its what is it, Matt? Like if all of its uses, something triggers the effect, the curse.
It is one of its, I think. Whenever the Crook of Rao's absolute banishment property is used, or when its last charge is expended, good gracious, roll on the extraplanar reversal table.
There it is. Yeah.
And a 91 to a 100 is Igwilv's curse.
99.
That is a 10% chance for just fuck.
Yep. Spoon says sacrifices must be made for big grudges. Looks like Gorham might be going for the servant of Leuko.
Yeah, he can scrap with that thing. I'm good on that. On God.
99 to 100. I think one of the party could make that roll. No problem.
Probably. We're unlucky enough. It's like, and just like that, the world, Eberron was ending at like 7th level. Fuck.
Oh man.
How long can we fight demons, guys? Not for 18 years every 6 seconds.
Yeah, no, like I said, that would have to be a campaign ending where you'd have to give your party a way to counterspell it or something.
Nah, I'd say if you're like not allowing to counterspell it, I'd at least give them the chance to fight them for as long as they can. Like y'all keep fighting it every 6 seconds.
That'd be a good ending too.
It's now an endurance test.
Yeah.
They're like, all right, can y'all fight in shifts? Can one half of you fight for 8 hours while the other half takes a long rest? Y'all better be some frugal ass motherfuckers with your resources.
Right. Yeah, like Matt was saying, the reach ending, or like zombies in Call of Duty. You're just going until you die, man.
Good luck.
That's all it is.
Yeah, y'all are heroes. You better go out like heroes. Y'all are holding back the tide.
That'd be such a sick.
That'd be actually a pretty badass way to end the campaign. Be like, all right, fellas, how long can you go?
Would you want to play through it though, or would you just want it done narratively? Because
I'd want to do it for at least a little bit. I don't want to see how hard it was going to be for at least a little bit.
We need to at least roll to see who goes down first and who goes last.
Oh no!
We're not rolling to see who goes down first. We're finding out. One 4-hour session of just combat. Every 6 seconds, a new demon appears.
Right.
Because you know what'd be fucked up is it wouldn't be that bad until y'all weren't able to kill a demon in 1 round, and then now there are 2. And then it starts to snowball, and that's when that's what your game over would be, is once more than one gets out the portal.
Right.
And then you're just kind of screwed. But it's how long can you keep it under control before you're just about to be overwhelmed?
I'd say that'd change really quick.
Oh, probably.
For sure.
If y'all are doing everything just right, like if y'all are like hyper tacticking the shit out of it.
Like
that's a lot
poets,
of seconds,
man.
Brittany.
That's how we gotta fight.
I don't know how many seconds that is.
6 seconds, right?
567,648,000 seconds. That's a lot of seconds.
It's a lot of rounds.
That's a lot of rounds.
That's a lot of rounds.
Brittany, can you divide that by 6 real quick and tell me how many that is? Okay, thank you. Perfect. That's 94 million rounds, fellas. You think we...
94 million rounds. 94 million demons.
That's a lot of demons.
That's a lot of fucking demons.
We can take them. We can take them. Everybody. If we have a bunch of characters that are entirely based around short rest cooldowns, we can do it.
Anyways,
we can do it.
Let's hit our last little talking point here, then we'll get out of here because I know Ian's bursting at the seams to play some of a popular video game that got released. I think it got released today. I don't know.
It did.
What
He's not the only one. Half my friend
What
list
game?
entirety. It was just like 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yep.
I don't know.
So, and this is one thing I wanted to talk about, and it's kind of what everybody's talking about with Tasha's right now, and it's the ASI changes. The ability to change the ability to change your what ASI is ability score increases, changing that based on your race. So if you're an orc, you get, or if I'll just say if you're a half elf, you get a +2 bonus to your charisma and then +1 bonus to any other 2 ability scores. So what you could do instead with this new ruling is take that +2 bonus from charisma and put it in a different category. So your strength, your dex, your con, wisdom, intelligence, and then charisma. It gives you that the ability to customize your character to maybe a background or how he was raised or where they were raised or something like that, right? And the reason it's getting a lot of hype around a lot of places right now is, well, you know what, before I get into that, is we'll just kind of go around and get general thoughts on it. So Ian or Matt, y'all take it away.
Excited. I love it. I absolutely enjoy the whole idea. Sure, it probably has a stigma from how it probably came about. Or, well, we know how it came about. Yeah. But it, like, come on, man. Like, if you want to play, like, certain races, sometimes there are a lot of players who are like, oh, I'd really like to do this, but some of my party are, semi optimized, or they're playing a class that's like really good. So if I just nerf myself that much more, then I can't do it. Or just being able to change your ability scores around, just I think changes the game. Obviously, it makes it a lot more competitive for what race you want to play and gives you more options. Humans still got a leg up with the feet, but I think it's a step in the right direction. I really like it.
What about you, Ian?
I'm want to kind of to agree basically with what Matt's saying. It, like, and a lot of people, and I naming my brother for one, would say that you shouldn't care 100% about optimization. However, like Matt said, you may agree with that philosophy, like, and that's all fine and dandy, and you don't mind being not optimized. But what kind of sucks is if you took a hit to your optimization, but then one or more of your party members is really well optimized, and now you feel kind of crappy because, like, okay, my character seriously underperforms in comparison. And aside from that, there are plenty of races that have cool racial stuff that they can do, especially in regards to certain class combinations or like an archetype you want to make, but their ability scores just don't really lend themselves to that. Plus, if you just want to play, I want to play a half-orc fucking wizard. Boom. I now have an intelligence bonus. And it's like, because maybe your human parent is like a fucking archmage. And so you grew up in like a magic tower and stuff. So it's like, you know what? Despite the fact that you're half orc, probably gonna be pretty smart. Like the logic would dictate. You can make it work. And I can see kind of where some people are coming from. Like my brother specifically talked about, like, well, it's dumb to have like an elf barbarian because they're supposed to be like, they're like nimble and quick and everything racially. I saw the look, Matt. But like I can, like, while I don't necessarily 100% agree, I do understand where you're coming from. Like, there are supposed to be some like physical traits that are more heavily linked to your race, but I will say that you can logic out most of that stuff, like, for your background to make it work for most things, and it just opens up the possibilities for fun and creative parties rather than having 500 million variant humans and, and just like so little variety.
Right, player agency, like just the uniqueness of having finally an orc with that +2 strength move into intelligence. It's awesome. And, obviously, some people are like, oh, elves are supposed to be wimbly nimbly. It was like, well, what about the elf that was raised like, you know, in a rougher side of town. What about the elf that needs to freaking struggle to survive? Where's the barbarian elf? Let me see it.
Right.
Grow
Arnold
the beard
Schwartz
out.
elf.
Yes,
So-
let me see that elf.
And I think this is a good leading into why it was put into here. I mean, good points all around. As like, it's easy to power game with this sort of thing, I think, but that's not my main concern. 5e is breakable, just like every D&D in front of it was breakable. The power gamers will power game. You're not getting rid of it, DMs. If you think you're getting rid of it, you're not. Like
Hexblade Warlock.
Yeah, like
1 level dip.
like you're not gonna get around your power gamers. Find different ways to deal with them. So power gaming is not one of my concerns about it. And then you guys were talking about the race. Like, the barbarian elf makes sense to me. I think you could have an elf that does more physical labor and builds that muscle up. You know, they could be a hardier elf. Where it gets weird to me is when certain races like dwarves, and you want to make a dexterous dwarf, and then it just starts to defy some sorts of physical logics to me.
Right.
And there are the limitations there, and it's all about, I get it, like, right, we want to make sure all of our players' options are open to them if that's what they want to do, but it takes a large stretch of the imagination, at least for me, to imagine that character, right? Like, and another example of what they've done is the sudden changes in this book. And the sudden changes are basically where you go from one class to another or something like that, and there's roleplay reasons for doing so. Like, if your orc barbarian all of a sudden started going to wizard school because he was just the smartest barbarian, and then he took a level in wizard. Now he's got that multi-class going on, right? But then you have weird transitions like, okay, I want to multi-class into, and you could do that for almost every class, right? Like, and explain it away fairly reasonably with, the barbarian goes to wizard school, the I don't know, the fighter goes and takes music lessons, and for the bard level, like, you can explain away a lot of these different things. The wizard goes and here, I'll use an example from our campaign. The artificer starts boxing with the monk. Like, there are ways you can explain these things away. But then you get into weird transitions, like, okay, I now want to multi-class into sorcerer.
Yeah, bloodline.
Sorcerer is where you're pulling magic out of your own bloodline and using the force of your charisma to pull bloodline magic from, like, and focus it on like, and manifest it. You're not really gonna learn that. You can't learn your own. You can't learn a bloodline, right? Like, but that's just to say the dexterous dwarf thing is kind of what throws me off from this. But a lot of what it comes from is D&D trying to get away from, and Wizards specifically trying to get away from a lot of the racist views that it took on in earlier editions, where orcs were inherently stupid, drows were inherently, I can't remember the penalties they took actually.
Evil.
Yeah, drows were
that was more of a alignment thing, because they were
right.
They didn't really have any negatives. Like, they didn't like the sun.
Right.
That's most of their thing.
No, yeah, but they did get rid of, in 5e, if I'm not mistaken, there are no penalties, right? Am I wrong in saying that? There's no ability penalties.
I don't know if there's I don't think any races take a hit.
Which they did in 3.5, which I think is already, like, they took a half step or a quarter step to doing that, and that's just furthering that step along to get out of this sort of racial rut of, you were born this way and this is how you are sort of mindset. So that's kind of where it was born from, and it's getting a lot of attraction. Just around the D&D community, a lot of people saying that it, like you were saying, there's some people who have the mindset, well, that's kind of dumb. There's some races you just don't have that build, and it's kind of my mindset with certain things, with very, very particular things, and the only one I have is the dexterous dwarf. Like, that's the one thing I can't wrap my mind around.
I don't see, like, why a dexterous dwarf wouldn't be, like, just dexterity implied in the game, at least. Like, that doesn't seem too far a stretch to me.
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, you could just say it, but the concept of it.
I have a hard time seeing a dwarf like, I don't like this, and this is the thing. It's like you can do it mechanically. You can have a dwarf monk. I have a hard time seeing a dwarf monk in my head doing like the flippy dippy shit. Like I run up walls.
Right.
They've already got the athleticism. We've seen them dance. We know how it works. But you know, I'm just not wrapping my head around the dexterity portion, because dexterity is used for a lot of different things, like shooting and all that.
Yeah,
etc. So I fail to see the why that's so hard to stretch.
I mean, it's using for things as acrobatics. I mean, the traditional clumsy dwarf, is the mindset, and I mean, it is like you look at Gimli. Like we want to take our favorite dwarf. That's where it is like Lord of the Rings and Gimli. He is not a dexterous being, and that's kind of that archetype of the dwarf.
Clumsy though is another thing,
but not as being dexterous.
Right.
Like you want to compare him to a comparatively
clumsy's a bad word.
Character. Like you want to compare him to like Legolas. He would be clumsy.
Well, also, it's like the two extremes. You got a very dexterous elf versus a very strength-oriented dwarf. I'm just saying, not a fair comparison.
Well, no, but but this just like is as a baseline example of dwarves. Like dwarves portrayed in most things, they might have dexterity in that they can shoot, and maybe they're really good at doing highly detailed stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But then there are the other aspects because there's a lot of stuff lumped into dexterity, like acrobatics. You don't really that's not a thing you usually think about in relation to dwarves. Is like the gymnast dwarf who's over here doing somersaults.
Right.
I don't think it's impossible for a dwarf to do a backflip, so I guess that's why.
I'm not saying it's impossible.
I know you're not saying it's impossible. I'm just trying to get Jones to pull up his red versus blue transition.
Y'all want to pull it up? Let's go. We're pulling it up. That's not it, boys. Wait a minute. Here it is. That's not it either, because I have instead of roll 20 up, I have something else. Let's just delete that.
Oh man, we got a lot of stuff going on here.
Man, what's going on over?
I don't know.
What is all that?
Where did Ian go?
I'm just here. I am into the ether. Hello.
Why are you gone, Ian?
It's his eye. God.
I see him. He's behind half.
Where's my background at? Where is everything at? Oh no.
We broke it.
All right, we broke it. We're going back. Never mind.
Go back.
I don't know what happened. Our debate versus screen went down, so
we broke it.
I tried, guys. I tried to push the argument for the debate.
It's a work in progress.
I think at the end of the day, it's not a matter of I am not against that in any sort of way. I think if the player wants to play it, at the end of the day, what the player wants to play will trump everything I have to say. It is just a difficult read on a concept. Like I said, a fighter going to a sorcerer doesn't make a whole lot of sense because of what a sorcerer is. And a dexterous dwarf doesn't make a whole lot of sense because what a dwarf is, right? In every way it's been portrayed before. So at the end of the day, if a player wants to play a dexterous dwarf, go for it. But also, a dexterous dwarf to me looks like a halfling.
Well, not really. I do have to show you, just the comparison. I've seen in various video games monk dwarves, and they're just rolling around, and they're still a foot taller than a halfling.
Here you go, Matt. This is it kind of rolls counter to your intuition, kind of like a Jawa who decides to be a fighter pilot, perhaps.
That seems like if you want to be I've seen a Jawa that wanted to be a bounty hunter, so I'm very open to you doing whatever you want. Let people.
Jawas are whack.
Let your dreams be dreams. Do what you gotta do.
Right. At the end of the day, I think that's what trumps it. Whatever conceptual problems that I have as a DM are trumped by what the player wants to do with a character. As long as it is not game breaking, I am not gonna say no based on that fact. But All right. Final thoughts. We're getting about that time where we're going to start wrapping up. Any other final thoughts that you guys want to put out there into the ether, or, you know, say, do a backflip?
Soul Knife Rogue whack. That's how I feel about it.
You're just gonna
Soul
leave
Knife
that.
Rogue.
You're gonna leave the people at 5 minutes left with that thought.
They can Google it. Soul Knife Rogue whack. Period.
I don't think there have been any major changes from UA to Tasha's for Soul Knife Rogue. We'll continue this next week,
It's
I
still
suppose. Go out there and play Tasha's Cauldron. Do what I can't do. Play some of the subclasses, get some opinions. Yell at this man, Ian, who's on this side of my screen, I think. No? Do I gotta look over here? Doesn't matter.
Hey, y'all yelling at me. That's rude.
All right. Well, next week we are actually going to be talking about DM philosophy, and include some popular themes around dungeon mastering and some influences on dungeon mastering, including things like, we will touch on the Matt Mercer effect a little bit, but we're going to be talking about DMing and dungeon mastering. We talked about it a little bit tonight. That'll be our next Tavern Talk, which is going to be next Wednesday, December 16th at 7 p.m. I don't know who's going to be. This is going to be kind of a revolving door sort of thing. This is our first time doing this, but we don't know who's going to be in here. I know a lot of people with a lot of opinions and we've talked for 2 hours now, just the three of us on this book. So make sure you drop a follow. If you haven't done it already, drop these guys a follow on Twitter. Twitter's down below. YouTube is down there. Our Twitter's down there. Everywhere. Drop a follow on Twitch and everything. But unless you guys have anything else, that's how we're going to wrap up tonight. Thank you guys, everybody, for tuning in. And make sure you tune in next week, December 16th. You're going to get some more hot takes with us on Tavern Talks. So, peace out, guys.
Be sure to send your questions through Twitter.
Yes.
Thanks.
Ask questions in relation to future topics.
Yeah.
Big
What
brain.
Is a Feardoa? What is a Crozum? I don't know. We'll find out next week.
I'm not telling anybody shit.
Why a soul knife whack?
Why a
Because
soul
it's
knife?
fucking whack.
Bye, everybody. Take it easy. Thanks for tuning in.
Take it easy. Deuces.
I can't find stream ending. I don't have a stream ending screen, apparently. Bye, everybody.